The house was pitch dark except for the flickering blue light of the TV in the living room. And there she sat, my wife's grandmother, settled deep into that ancient recliner like she'd never moved, even though I could have sworn she was hundreds of miles away the last time I checked. "Evenin'," she said, her eyes fixed on the screen, a forkful of sweet potatoes frozen midair. I dropped my bag by the stairs, still in shock. "Where is she?" "Gone," she replied, finally taking the bite like it wasn't the most loaded word in the English language. "She left you a note," she added, like it was nothing, said it was on the fridge. Honestly, it looked more like a ransom demand than anything heartfelt. The second I saw her handwriting, I knew something was off. That oversized, dramatic cursive, like someone trying too hard to look innocent while hiding a loaded secret. The note read, "Spent your $18,500 credit limit on a cruise for my side of the family. Take care of her." That was it. No sorry. No Merry Christmas. No explanation. Just take care of her. Like I'd just been handed responsibility for the family pet she forgot to board. I stood there stunned, staring at that pathetic scrap of paper while the world seemed to tilt sideways. The fridge groaned, the TV droned on about sugar cookies, and something inside my chest twisted into a knot made of fury and humiliation. She emptied a $18,500 credit line we both shared, blew it all on a trip with her side of the family, and disappeared to sip cocktails on a cruise ship with cousins she used to mock. She probably posted an Instagram story with the caption "Healing Vibes" while the betrayal was still fresh in my hands. "You okay, sweetheart?" her grandmother asked behind me, and it wasn't really a question. It was a statement. A quiet confirmation she already knew the answer. I turned toward her slowly. "Did you know?" She shook her head, still chewing, totally unfazed. "Nope. But I can't say I'm shocked. That girl's always been 2 steps ahead of trouble and 3 steps behind doing the right thing." I let out a laugh, not the warm kind. It was dry, sharp, and bitter. "She left me here, with you." "She left me with you," the old woman corrected, wiping her mouth. "But don't you worry. We're gonna fix this." I didn't say a word. Just nodded. What else can you do when your marriage implodes under a wreath and the only person standing beside you is a 79-year-old woman who thinks Bluetooth is a dental procedure? For days later, they were groveling. But we're not there yet. First came the unraveling, slow, cold, and quiet like ice cracking on a windshield. Because while she was off living her fake dream life, clinking glasses and posing for selfies, I was stuck here with the woman who raised her. And let me tell you something. Grandma didn't just have opinions. She had receipts. And stories. And a grudge bigger than the Panama Canal. Want to know what came next? Then sit tight, because the burn hadn't even started yet. No, I remembered her saying. It's just boilerplate stuff. No need to get lawyers involved. Grandma let out this dry little laugh, low and dangerous. "That's like asking the wolf to guard the sheep," she muttered, handing me a copy of the prenup I didn't even know existed. The date hit me like a punch. It was filed 3 weeks before our wedding. Right around the time she was insisting she didn't care about legal nonsense and just wanted to elope. Classic bait and switch. Misdirection at its finest. But it was Clause 7 that stopped me cold. Any spending on shared credit lines, if proven to be unauthorized, could legally shift all the debt onto the person who racked it up as long as there was solid documentation. "You're saying?" "I'm saying," Grandma nodded, "if you can prove you didn't sign off on that spending spree, she eats the debt. All of it." But that prenup came from her attorney. "Doesn't matter," Grandma said, tapping the side of her head. "They never thought you'd actually read it. They figured you'd take the hit. But sugar, we're not taking hits. We're firing back." By that evening, I was knee-deep in 6 months of bank statements. Spa appointments in cities we'd never even driven through. Dinner charges for 2 entrees and a parade of mojitos billed to business meetings. A Gucci luggage set shipped directly to her sister, who then bragged about it online, tagging herself on the cruise with a cheesy #blessed caption. I didn't rage. I didn't scream. I took screenshots, sent them to my lawyer, then typed out a single message to her. "We need to talk." Grandma leaned back, sipping her tea like it was fine wine. "Hope this is entertaining for you, son." 5 minutes later, she read the message. 10 minutes after that blocked. That's when I smiled. Really smiled. Because that wasn't strategy. That was fear. And fear meant I was finally ahead. That night, Grandma pulled out a dusty old bourbon bottle she'd been saving since her wedding day. Said her husband would have liked me. To betrayal, she toasted, raising her glass. "May it rot under a hot sun." To revenge, I replied, clinking my glass against hers. "May it be quiet, fast, and absolutely legal." Somewhere on that ship, basking in a bubble of sunshine and SPF 50, my wife was probably flashing a fake smile for another filtered selfie, totally unaware that her little fantasy was already leaking below the surface. And the wildest part? The storm hadn't even arrived. The first crack in her perfect illusion came Thursday morning. 6:18 a.m. sharp. Unknown number. Hey, can we talk? Please? I think there's been a misunderstanding. I stared at the text, sipped my coffee, and flipped the phone around to show Grandma, who was buttering toast like she was prepping for war. She's cracking, I said. Faster than I figure, she smirked. Let her sweat. Reply later. Never in the morning, let em stew. I tried to hold back a grin. My wife had finally learned the hard way that Instagram followers aren't the same thing as leverage. She was 3,000 miles away and somehow already losing a battle she didn't even know had officially begun. See, people like her? They skate through life with charm and smoke. They think a smile and a well-placed emoji can erase anything. But real consequences? That's foreign territory. By noon, 3 more messages rolled in, not from her this time, but from the family. Her sister, I don't know what's going on, but she's crying and saying you're threatening her with legal stuff. Can you two just talk it out? Her mother, this is a family issue. Let's be civil and resolve it quietly. No need to cause a scene. That last one made me laugh out loud. No need to cause a scene, like I was the one who drained $18,500, ghosted on a holiday, and vanished like a sunburnt Carmen Sandiego. Grandma read every message, eyes narrowing slightly. Interesting, she said. Nobody's denying anything. Just begging. That's when I realized they weren't trying to defend her. They were trying to contain me. They think I'll just let it go. No, Grandma said firmly. They think you're still the man they left behind. But they have no idea what you've been building. What I'd been building was an airtight case. One even a half-asleep judge would look at and say, really? I'd already frozen the credit card, filed a fraud report, and delivered a tidy evidence packet to my lawyer. Everything was in there: screenshots, emails, locked account credentials. She'd even tried to be slick by booking the trip under her maiden name so the system wouldn't flag anything. Cute move. Too bad I still remembered her passwords, her backup email, and the name of the dog she had when she was 10. Baxter. Nasty little thing. Bit me once. I never forgot. Clause 7, the quiet killer in the prenup, had become our trump card. My lawyer was confident if I pushed this, she'd be financially responsible for all of it. Best case scenario for her? Bankruptcy. Worst case? Possible jail time if we exposed the loan card she opened under Grandma's name. But this wasn't about revenge for revenge's sake. This was about dignity. About setting the record straight. About delivering a truth sharp enough to leave a scar. She finally called that evening. I let it go to voicemail. Hey, babe. Hi. I just want to talk. Okay? This trip, it was for my mental health. That was how her voicemail started. Soft. Coded in self-preservation. I needed a reset. I didn't mean to blindside you. I figured once I explained everything, you'd understand. We've both been under a lot of stress lately. Grandma's all right, right? I love you. Can we talk before lawyers get involved? Please? I replayed it. Twice. Not once did she say sorry. Not a single I screwed up. Just a cocktail of reset, stress, and please don't lawyer up. It was the holy trinity of emotional manipulation, gaslight, guilt trip, and the most passive brand of begging I've ever heard. Grandma didn't miss a beat. She raised her bourbon glass like it was a sacred ritual. To her mental health, she said. May she gain some real perspective in bankruptcy court. By the following morning, the rest of the Cruz clan had caught wind of the fallout. Her cousins, the ones with rented Rolexes and veneers financed on layaway, started crawling into my inbox with a range of reactions. From "you've always been uptight" to "she deserves better." Deserves better? I paid for her upgraded flights, business class, mind you. I cleared her student loans. Fixed the busted garage door at her mom's place. Hosted a baby shower for her niece. Bought her a damn hybrid. Better? No. What she deserves is exactly what's heading her way. And it's not explosive or dramatic. It's not chaotic like the way she bailed. No, this is different. This is surgical. It's the cold, clean slice of reality. And the more they whine, the sharper I make the blade. She came home on a Tuesday, but she didn't return with remorse or humility. I didn't expect her to. I'm not that naive anymore. She returned with a tan, a new wardrobe, gleaming teeth, and the kind of smug expression that says, let's pretend none of this happened because I've decided I'm still the victim here. The front door creaked like it, too. Knew something sacred had been broken. She stepped in, dragging designer luggage behind her and clutching a purse like it held her remaining dignity. I was on the couch, TV off, phone in hand, waiting. She stopped short, clearly surprised to see me. "Oh, you're home early." "I live here," I said flatly. She gave a dry laugh, one of those little soundcheck laughs to see how much damage she'd caused. "Right, of course." That's when Grandma emerged from the hallway, arms folded across her apron like she'd been preparing for trial. A ladle dangled from her hand like a gavel. "Welcome back, darling," she said with the warmth of a fridge door. "Soup's in the fridge. Guilt's extra." She tried to keep her cool, I'll give her that. Wandering through the kitchen, opening drawers like the house might have rearranged itself while she was gone. Like she still had a place in its rhythm. As if she hadn't set fire to it and come back expecting clean floors and confetti. "Look," she began. "I know you're upset, and you have every right to be. But I had my reasons." "Then let's hear them," I said, my tone steady. Too steady. That threw her off. No shouting. No dramatics. Just ice. What she didn't understand was the fire already happened. She just hadn't seen the damage yet. "I've been overwhelmed," she started. "With your long hours and the distance between us, I felt alone. I needed something for me. Something to remind me who I am. So you booked a cruise." "We booked a cruise," she corrected quickly. "My family and I. It was healing. And I knew you wouldn't get it at first, but—" "Stop." She froze, mouth open mid-spin. "I didn't ask for a TED Talk on betrayal," I said. "I asked you here to hand you this." I slid an envelope across the table. Thick, heavy with consequence. She looked at it like it had teeth. "What is this?" "A full breakdown of the debt," I said. "Every transaction. Itemized. Clause 7 highlighted. A letter from my lawyer. And an offer." Her eyes sharpened. "An offer. You admit fault. Take full financial ownership. Transfer the debt into your name. Sign off on the property release. In return," she asked, voice tight, "I don't press charges. I don't take this to court. And I don't forward your sister the video of you bragging about how you finessed this entire thing into a business expense." Color drained from her face. Grandma poured tea, casual as ever. "You wouldn't," she said, voice trembling now. "I already did," I answered. She sank slowly into the nearest chair, like gravity had just doubled its pull. "You're serious?" "No. I was serious 4 days ago," I told her. "Right now, I'm just giving you a way out that doesn't end with you being publicly carved open." She clutched at one last defense. "I didn't cheat on you," she blurted, like that somehow changed the score. "I know," I replied calmly, "because that would have required guts. What you did took something else, cowardice. You lied. You stole. You ran. And then you expected applause when you walked back in." She had no comeback, no clever spin, just silence. And for the first time, I really saw her, under the flawless makeup. Her hands couldn't stay still, fidgeting with her sleeves, brushing imaginary dust off the counter. All nervous reflexes. The cheap gold necklace she wore sat crooked, its shimmer already fading, just like her excuses. She wasn't apologizing. She was cornered. And for once, she couldn't charm her way out of it. I'd stopped playing nice, and she had no script for that. She didn't sign anything that night. Said she needed a little time. Needed to check in with people. Which meant she was calling around, trying to rewrite her version of events. Probably dialing the same cousins who were clinking glasses with her at sea. Celebrating with the money she stole from our credit line. But what she hadn't figured out yet was this. Her version of the story was no longer the one being told. I was the one holding the pen now. That week, she didn't show up at book club, which raised eyebrows, considering it had always been her kingdom. Wine nights, vision boards, affirmations scribbled in pastel markers. One week she played the financial wizard, the next a healing soul coach. She ruled that group like a suburban queen. But that Thursday, nothing. "I'm just not feeling well," she said, lounging on the couch in overpriced leggings, trying to look casually miserable. "Sinuses or something." I didn't bother responding. Just slid my phone across the coffee table. She glanced down. A Facebook post. Quiet, vague, but sharp if you knew what to look for. Funny how some folks screamed self-care while stealing from the ones who actually cared. Hashtag no to yours many. Her cousin posted it. The same one who got stuck sleeping on the cabin floor so she could have a spa suite on the ship. People talk, I said, sipping my coffee. Especially when they weren't even invited to the cruise they unknowingly helped fund. She forced a smirk, lifting her mug like it was all beneath her. It's drama, she said. Everyone's being overly sensitive. But her voice wavered. Her hands were shaking. She was falling apart quietly, piece by piece. I hadn't shouted. I didn't out her on social media. Didn't call her mom or text her old coworkers. I did something smarter. I let the truth leak. A soft word here. A side comment there. A screenshot forwarded to the HOA president who also happened to be friends with her hairdresser. I wasn't loud, just surgical. No slander. No revenge posts. Just fact. Placed deliberately. By the end of the week, the effect was obvious. Her Pilates instructor ghosted her. Her mom called me in a panic. What's this about a bank investigation? And her cousin? The one with the Facebook post? Unfollowed her and wiped every trace of the cruise from her page. Then came the silence. Not just in the house, online too. Her digital persona, once all glam brunches and faux spiritual captions, disappeared, replaced with muted photos of throw pillows and soup. Like she was trying to paint over the fire damage. But everyone already saw the flames. Her influencer mask had slipped. And underneath? Wasn't a self-care warrior. Wasn't a misunderstood wife. It was a woman who took a $18,500 joyride and came home expecting hugs. Late one night, she broke the silence. You said you didn't want to ruin me, she whispered. We were sitting in low candlelight like the past week hadn't shredded everything between us. I didn't, I said calmly. Then why are you doing this? I gave you a choice, I reminded her. I handed you a way to make it right. But you bet everything on me backing down. She stared at me and something flickered behind her eyes. Not sadness. Not shame. Fear. Because now she realized I wasn't bluffing. I wasn't yelling. I wasn't even hurting anymore. I was done. You're enjoying this, she snapped. No, I said. But I'm learning. Learning what? How fast respect can vanish once you see someone for who they really are. She went to bed with the paperwork tucked under her arm, not because she was sorry, but because she thought there might still be room to negotiate. What she didn't understand was, this wasn't a negotiation anymore. This was the autopsy. And the only thing left to decide was whether the burial would be quiet or televised. The next morning, she was on the phone. Soft voice. Practiced pauses. The kind of grief that came from rehearsing, not from actually feeling anything. I don't know what changed, she said. He's cold. Like someone I don't even recognize. She was talking to her Aunt Lorraine. The one who used to call me that sweet kid with the truck even after I traded it in for something that didn't guzzle gas. I'd patched Lorraine's roof after a storm once. No charge. She remembered. So when I forwarded her a still from our home security cam, my wife walking out with $2,000 in designer luggage the morning of her surprise cruise, date and time clear as day, Lorraine didn't reply. Just sent me a thumbs up. Classy. By Friday, my wife was deep in spin mode. She started texting her friends, trying to shape the narrative before the truth reached them. But the truth was already at their doorstep. And it was knocking louder than she ever expected. She's just going through something, she told her aunt. Work's been hard. He's not himself lately. He's projecting? Projecting? That word hit different, coming from the same woman who once told our couple's therapist that I had financial control issues right after she bought a $700 foot bath. Not a spa weekend. Not a massage package. A machine. For soaking feet. And when I called it out, she said we deserve nice things like that justified blowing through rent money for a bubbling plastic tub. Now suddenly I was the one unraveling? No, now she was scrambling. And people like her don't own mistakes. They craft narratives. Carefully, strategically. Problem was, I'd already published the ending. Then came the best part, she tried talking to Grandma. I walked in near the end, just in time to catch the performance. My wife was perched across from Grandma, hands folded delicately in her lap, tears in her eyes like she was auditioning for a Hallmark redemption arc. And Grandma? Calm as ever, sipping her chamomile tea like a retired general watching a rookie surrender to the wrong army. I just feel like he's punishing me, my wife said, voice soft. Grandma didn't even flinch. No, sweetie, she said. He's teaching you something. There's a difference. I didn't think it would go this far. You didn't think at all, Grandma cut in. you just spent. That night, she tried a new approach. Softer. Smoother. The rope-a-dope. She poured a little wine. Turned on an old playlist through the Bluetooth speaker, our wedding song played low and slow. Can't help falling in love. She sat next to me on the couch, too close, like the scent of nostalgia could cover up the rot of deceit. Her fingers grazed my arm. Remember when we used to dance in the kitchen? She asked gently. I remember a lot of things, I said, eyes forward. I miss us. There is no us, I replied. There's me and there's the woman who drained 20 grand and tried to pretend it was a spiritual cleanse. She winced. You don't believe in forgiveness? I turned to face her. The woman who used to hold my hand like it meant something, now clutching it like a legal loophole she never read. I believe in math, I said. And the numbers aren't lying. The next morning, I found her sitting alone at the kitchen table, hunched over her phone like it had turned against her. She hadn't slept. I could tell. Truth has that effect when you've built your life on edits. Her cousin had posted a photo, a sunny shot from the cruise. But the caption had teeth, fun trip. Just wish it hadn't been paid for with someone else's future. Then her yoga friend chimed in. Wait, that was real? I thought it was just gossip. 3 hours later, her inbox had gone silent. Turns out you don't need to shout to destroy a lie. All you have to do is hold up a mirror and let the liar ramble long enough. Sooner or later, their reflection does the heavy lifting. She never saw it coming. And that in itself was hilarious. For a woman who color-coded our linen closet and planned dinner parties down to the playlist, she never imagined I'd be the one preparing my exit. But I did. Quietly. Carefully. While she was pacing rooms, whispering into phones, and trying to keep her brand intact, I was laying the groundwork. No drama. No outbursts. Just logins, paper trails, passwords, and a prenup she thought was her safety net. Funny thing about safety nets, they don't work when you set them on fire. Her lawyer had drawn the prenup up to protect her family's wealth. It was designed to shield her. The mistake? It assumed she'd always have control. But Clause 7 flipped the board. The second she used shared credit without consent and bragged about it, documented it, laughed about it in her texts, she voided her own armor. My lawyer had the final docs prepped. I just needed her signature. She walked into the kitchen one morning, face drawn, lips tight. I can't go anywhere without people looking at me, she muttered. Even the girl at the coffee shop gave me a weird vibe. I didn't look up. Well, I said, you tagged the coffee shop in every selfie for 3 years. People remember. This is getting out of hand, she snapped. No, I said, placing the manila folder between us. This is proportionate. The spending. The lies. The fraud. This is your opportunity to leave quietly before it gets even messier. She flipped the cover page, scanning quickly. You're really doing this? I already did, I replied. Last week. You're ending our marriage over a vacation? I looked her straight in the eyes. No. I'm ending it over the person you became while I was trying to build a future. She didn't cry. Not then. Tears require actual guilt. Instead, she flipped through the pages like she was skimming the terms on a lease, cold, distant, trying to find an escape clause. You're throwing all of this away? She asked, almost stunned. I chuckled. Quiet and bitter. There was nothing to throw away. You had access. I had the illusion of a teammate. She didn't know what to say. For once, there was no role that fit. Victim? Too late. Temptress? No spark left. Reformed wife? No one was buying the rebrand. She looked like an actress left standing on a stage after the show's already ended, the lights off, the seats empty. And the audience? Gone. By noon, the papers were signed and back in my hands. By 5 o'clock, the deed to the house had a new name on it. Grandma's. Yeah. I didn't want the house. I didn't need the house. But I knew she did. She worshipped those granite countertops like they were altar pieces. Posted about them weekly. That walk-in closet? She called it her sacred space. The throw pillows, the fake succulents, the carefully staged shelves meant for Instagram, not comfort, she curated the whole place like a lifestyle blog. And now? It belonged to a 79-year-old woman who collected antique ladles and had zero patience for bull. You sure about this? My lawyer asked. I nodded. She won't fight it once she realizes who holds the keys. That evening I moved out. No boxes. No packing spree. Just grabbed the basics, phone, wallet, a few shirts, and left the rest behind. You know what weighs less than baggage? Peace. It rides shotgun. Doesn't complain. Doesn't demand space in the trunk. Before I walked out, I left a note on the fridge. Not out of guilt, just for the poetry of it. You spent $18,500 on a cruise. I spent 3 weeks building freedom. Enjoy the couch. Grandma likes the good recliner. No threats. No insults. Just closure. Sometimes justice isn't loud. Sometimes it's the soft click of a door shutting behind you and locking. For days after I left, she made her move. Tried to kick Grandma out. It would have been funny if it weren't so predictable. She came downstairs wrapped in a designer robe, jaw clenched like she'd just stepped out of a Confident Woman Pinterest board, and found Grandma knitting in her favorite chair by the window, her usual post-lunch routine. "You need to leave," she said, arms folded like that gave her legal authority. Grandma didn't even blink. Finished her row, clipped the yarn, and tied it off with the kind of quiet focus you earned from decades of soap operas and real-life drama. "Why's that, sweetheart?" she asked calmly. "This is my house." Grandma stood up, slow, deliberate. "No, honey. It's mine now." She pointed toward the hallway. Framed on the wall was the deed, clean and clear. My ex walked over, skimmed it. Read the name at the top. Dolores Jean Mathers. Owner. Legal resident. Sole trustee. "I don't understand," she whispered. "He gave you the house?" "No," Grandma replied, pouring herself a fresh cup of tea. "He gave me peace of mind. I just chose to keep it in the form of hardwood floors and central air. You can't stay here." Grandma sipped slowly. "I can. I am. And I'm not going anywhere." Then she turned the volume up on Family Quiz night and let the letters spin. That was the end of the conversation. An hour later, I got a voicemail. "You seriously gave her the house? This is petty even for you." I didn't respond. Then came a text. "Where am I supposed to go?" I considered replying. But then I pictured her sitting there on the bottom step, staring at her phone like it held the last key to her old life. And I realized silence was the gift. That evening, Grandma called. "She's been quiet," she said, matter of fact. "Sulking around the kitchen. Rearranged the spice rack like she's hoping for parole." "You good?" I asked. "Oh, I'm great," Grandma chuckled. "Just pulled a lasagna out of the oven and told her it's off limits. She can enjoy the freezer waffles she bought when she still thought you were bankrolling her fantasy." I laughed so hard I had to pull over. The truth is, Grandma had seen this coming long before I did. She'd watched her granddaughter turn love into a costume, something worn, posed, discarded. She saw the taking, the spinning, the fake sparkle in public, and the cold detachment at home. So no, she didn't celebrate the fall. But she made damn sure it landed. One stitch, one boundary, one quiet win at a time. Then came the final act. My ex tried to throw a brunch. One last attempt at image repair. A few invites, some overpriced bagels, maybe a girl boss selfie. 3 people showed up. 2 bailed before the fruit tray hit the table. The third, her old coworker, stayed long enough to eat half a grapefruit, snap a photo with Grandma, and later text me. She looked lost. Like a rich kid who just figured out summer camp isn't permanent. And she had lost everything. Her influence. Her husband. And now her house. Not to a stranger, but to the woman who'd once wiped applesauce from her chin, who stood guard now over the wreckage, knitting in the sun, unmoved, unbothered, and completely in charge.